Welcome to Teen Up, a podcast that digs deeper into the thoughts of teenagers' minds about the wonders of the world.
If you're new here, I am your host, Isabella.
And I'm Glenn. If you're not, welcome back.
Here's a quick disclaimer. If we made any mistakes, please email us and tell us. Thank you.
Hi, today we have Amelhyne from Talk About It podcast. So, Amelhyne, why don't you introduce your podcast first?
Hi guys, well firstly thank you so much for having me on. I've been so excited to be on this podcast for so long now and it's finally here. That was a good introduction. My name is Amelhyne. I have a podcast called Talk About It. It is a podcast I've been running for the past 15 months now, which has been absolutely crazy. It's been such an adventure. And I started the podcast back in 2021 because two teens in my local area both died very suddenly. They both took their own lives, and it was really, really shocking to the community. So I thought, you know what, I think there needs to be more discussion about mental health, and there still does. So I decided to start my podcast just to kind of get the talk of mental health going, especially for younger people. And that's what's been happening. It's been going really, really well. I've had so many crazy, great opportunities. I've made friends worldwide, countrywide. It's amazing. And then just a little bit more about myself. I'm also a journalist. I write a fortnightly column for my local paper. And I was also selected to write a column for the national paper called the Irish Independent. And basically that paper wanted me to write about an article every day for my exams. So I've just finished school and I'll be starting college in September. It's just a bit about me and where I'm heading.
That's actually pretty cool. I didn't know that you could write papers for your local newspaper. That's pretty cool.
And also, the cause of your podcast, it's coming from a great place.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a hard place to come from. When I tell people, they're always kind of surprised. But look, it's a cause I really, really care about, and it's something now. I've taken a break over the past month, which has been lovely. And now this week, now I'm back working again, podcast wise, back doing interviews and stuff like that. So there'll be loads more topics about mental health coming soon.
I like that. Since you're doing a lot of mental health for this series, we're doing mental health, and today we're going to talk a little bit more about eating disorders and body images. So, what do you know about eating disorders?
Funnily enough, I didn't know very much about it until I watched an Irish documentary called Unspoken. And people can find it if they go onto my Instagram page at underscore talk about a podcast. I have the documentary linked in my Instagram, so you can actually go check it out because it's a documentary. I just happened to watch one night. It just came on the TV. I was like, oh, why not? And it's about three men who are Irish called Owen, Cormac, and Daniel. And they speak about their eating disorders and the kind of stigma that surrounds it in Ireland and what the Irish health system is like concerning eating disorders. So I thought I was well educated on the matter until I watched that documentary. And I'm still no professional. I'm still learning. I'm still talking to people about this kind of things because I've never personally suffered with an eating disorder. I know people who have, and it's extremely difficult to discuss, for them to discuss and for people to hear about. But it's true, so I don't want to come on here saying that I know everything. I don't. I'm still learning. But if you do want to learn about, especially men's mental health and eating disorders, I highly suggest watching that documentary because it still sticks with me. Like I watched it, it was 6 months ago now, and it's still with me.
You talked about how you learn about eating disorder, but like, what's your take on eating disorders stemming from concerns over body sizes or body image in general?
Okay, so for me, having seen a lot of this kind of stem from online, so TikTok and Instagram especially, was kind of for me seeing people online where a lot of people's insecurities lie is seeing people who are really, really skinny and just quote unquote perfect. When that's not the case, like it's all filters, it's all Photoshop. I do a lot of photography myself, actually. It's kind of a side hustle I do. I do photography for different events and stuff like that. And people are always very conscious when I come with a camera with how they look. I tend to see when I take out the camera that people are kind of fixing themselves automatically and asking their friend, oh, how do I look? And for me, that's kind of comes from the insecurity about seeing these models online or seeing these people online that look perfect when nobody is. Like, they're all just filters and Photoshop and stuff. So, and I think when when the eating orders just stems from that discomfort in your own body. So that's where I kind of see it happening, especially online. So yeah, from me, from an outsider looking in, that's where I kind of see a lot of people have kind of started their eating disorders, and the way that, people, I've chatted to people on my podcast who've had it, and they said it just stemmed from a lot of, social stigma. Really, is how it
Mhm.
began for them.
And you just said that you're also a photographer, like a side hustle thing. As a photographer, like, have you ever talked to the people like who are fixing themselves? Like, you could say, you don't have to, fix your hair; it looks fine or something. Like, have you ever done anything like that?
100%. It's 50% of the job. Do you know what I mean? I really didn't
Mhm.
expect it to be such a big part of the job, but it is. And when I said that to other people, they're really, really shocked. But I'm like, no, it's true. A lot of
Mhm.
younger people, like people, I think between the ages of about 25 and 16, really don't care. And
Mhm.
most of them, 90% of the time, they're actually quite easygoing. And then people who are like 60 plus don't don't really mind. They're like, of course, take a picture. It's the
Mhm.
people who are actually between the ages of 25 and 50 who really care the most. And that kind of stuck out to me, because I
Mhm.
photograph all age groups. I take pictures of everybody when I do it. It's just the industry that I'm in. And those people in particular always tend to fix themselves or say, oh, don't take that kind of angle shot. But I always kind of comfort them. I'm like, look, you look fabulous the way you are. I would tell you if there's something on your shirt or something on your face. Do you know what I mean? Just to
Mhm.
kind of settle people. And I always show them a photograph afterwards and go, look, if you're not happy with it, we'll take it again. Sometimes they're happy with it and they just want to leave it. They want the one photo they're done. Sometimes they like taking it 5, 6, 7 times until they're happy. But it's really just making people comfortable in the way they look, and that's kind of, I realized, was part of the job when I take photos of people, is to make people comfortable and make people happy with the way that they look, and that builds confidence as well.
Mhm. Right. I think it's actually quite interesting what you said because I thought people who used social media more would care more about how they look in pictures, but it's those people who are already in the working force or like those 30, 40s, people in the 40s. And why do you think that they have that problem?
I think because we're very lucky in a sense that I think people kind of in our age group, so I'm going to say between the ages of 13 and 25, a lot of us would be on TikTok at the moment, I
Mhm.
feel,
Mm-hmm.
or these kind of things. And there's a lot of positive influences coming into the field, is what I'm finding. So people like Spencer Barbosa, who is a Canadian TikToker, and she's one of the people I look up to. She's an amazing positive body image kind of message going on. And as well, like the documentary I've talked about, these men are in their uh, early to mid to late 20s. And I think we're just in that kind of era now where there's a lot of positive talk going on, a lot of change going on. We're at that
Mhm.
kind of generation that want to see a positive impact in the world, not even just with body image, but with climate change, with politics. We're that kind of generation that want to see a positive change. Where
Mhm.
for the older generation, I think they got caught up in a lot of the negative effects of social media from a very early stage. Like, it progressed so quickly for them, and it still is progressing so quickly for them, that I think that sometimes just the negative can stand out over the positive, where we use it so much now on a daily basis that we see the positive and the negative, but we understand that we've got to take the bad with the good. And we
Mhm.
kind of are learning how to do that now. So I just think for that kind of, and we're so used to taking photographs as well. I mean, our generation are always taking selfies or
Mm-hmm.
picture this, that, or the other. Like, it's second nature. So I think
Mhm.
that's kind of why as well. It's a question I asked myself for ages, and that's kind of the conclusion I've come to.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting take that you have. Because it's, well, somewhat different than what I've heard before, than like what other people say, but I think it's true in a sense that people in our age group, or you know, like you said, 13 to 25, um, we we are more familiar with social media because we kind of grew up with it. And as we grew up with it, we know more about its nature and the bad and the goods of it. And I think that might be one of the reasons that makes us see things differently. And I think that's a very interesting take.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's it.
Hmm. Well, you've said that you have chatted with people who have eating disorders. Do you have any personal experiences with people who have problems with body image?
With body image, yeah, I actually did a podcast episode. There was a group in my school. They did a project about body image, and it was so powerful that I decided to have them on the podcast. So we did my very first live podcast recording with them, which was so nerve-wracking. I was nearly sick that morning. I was like, why am I doing this? There's literally 100 people in the room. I was like, I didn't sign up to this because initially, fun, like just a fun side story here. A teacher came up to me and said, "Would you do this for them?" And I said, "Yeah, sure," thinking it was me and 5 other girls. And then
Hmm.
walking into the library where we were recording and seeing like maybe 50 other people, and then people slowly coming in and out of the room as we were recording. So there must have been a
Hmm.
hundred people who passed through the room throughout the day.
Wow.
And
Hmm.
I was so nervous because usually it's me in my room.
Hmm.
And I'd be chatting to 2 people other, max. And then I
Hmm.
see 50 people sitting in the library. I'm like, oh my God, talk about, talk about discomfort and body image. Like, it was just, I was like, how do I look? What's going on? So yeah, it was, it was a great experience. But body image wise, yeah, I think everybody kind of suffers from body image, in
Hmm.
a way, in a sense that we all get uncomfortable with our body every once in a while. I think that's just part of life. And I think you'd be lying to yourself, unfortunately, if you said you didn't suffer with, negative body image or negative talk
Hmm.
about your body. I think everyone does, just one stage or another in their life, and that's just something we
Hmm.
all have to grow and accept. But I think as well, like even recently, I was like, oh, I hate the way I look in this top. I had a
Hmm.
Pacific top on. I was like, nope, not loving it. So I'm just learning now to like the clothes that I'm in, and if I don't like the clothes, I'll give them to charity, or I'll sell them, or I'll do something else with them. But for
Hmm.
me, my body image confidence comes from when I wear clothes that I like. That's just for me personally. I know other people whose positive body image kind of comes from taking care of themselves, like doing self care.
Hmm.
It differs, but I think we all kind of have that little voice in our head saying, "Oh, you could do this or you could do that," or "I don't like the way this looks on you." That's just part of life, but I think it's about accepting that and then learning to take those steps to kind of quieten that voice at the back of your head and just
Hmm.
kind of learn about your own body and how it works and accept it because you only have one, so it's just about accepting it and loving it at the end of the day.
So are you saying like in essence it's just like being positive of your own body is part of the process of learning more about yourself and getting to know yourself?
100%. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, because look, it's a journey. Getting to know ourselves is a
Hmm.
journey, and what we like and what we dislike, and we change. We change all the time. Our bodies change with us as we grow older. So I think it's just about learning what you like and what you don't like. And if you outgrow a pair of jeans, or you want to start going to the gym, or you just don't like going to the gym, um, or these certain types of food just make your skin go all spotty, learn about it and see what you can do to kind of make yourself more comfortable in your own skin. That's what is so important. And forget what everybody else says. Forget if people are commenting on your body because your body isn't their body. You've just got to accept the body you're in, love the body you're in, and work with it.
Hmm. I think that's a really good message that you're trying to say here. Like our next question, we were gonna ask, how do you think we could help people with the eating disorders? But like here, you're talking about more of self acceptance, and I think that's an important part. And those people building their own confidence. And I think overall, they need a lot of support from their family and friends. And I think that overall could really help. But what's maybe do you have another answer for this?
No, it's a really good answer as well. I think that's so true as well. The first thing I was going to say was, look, talk to your friends, talk to your family. One of the things that the girls were talking about on their project was the way you speak about your body is the way I look at mine. And I think that is probably one of the most powerful things I've ever heard. And it really kind of spoke to me in the sense that if I comment about my body saying, okay, I don't like the way my arms look, and one of my friends are like, oh, if she doesn't like the way her arms look, well, my arms look like hers, then I shouldn't like my arms either. And it's kind of a thing where if one person says something, it kind of impacts the way you think. That's the message they're trying to get across. So if I speak positively about my body, so about my smile, if I go, oh my goodness, I really like the way I smile, I really like my teeth, the way my teeth show, somebody else can go, oh, I do too. And it kind of is a positive effect. So I think it's about, starting with yourself and being positive within yourself, and then how it affects other people. So that's, talking with your friends and family about that is so important. And maybe saying to a friend or a family member who speaks negatively about themselves, just say, look, if you speak negatively about yourselves, it could affect other people. Let's try help
Mhm.
each other. That's a small step you can take. And then eating disorder wise, I'd like to stress again, I am no professional when it comes to eating disorders or mental health. I don't have a degree any of this kind of thing. I'm just a young person who you know gives people platforms to talk about these kinds of things, and I'm still learning. But something that is so important is just educating yourself. Number one, so watching documentaries. TikTok is absolutely brilliant as well. Recently, if you find the right creators who are qualified professionals and talk about these kind of things, because there are TikTokers out there, follow them, see what they say about these kinds of issues, and then as well go online, go on Google, research, your national or local group that maybe deal with issues like this. So if you need help, if you ever just need to chat to somebody or call somebody, call a professional. There's loads of helplines online you can chat to. Um, there's always options out there. There is always some kind of solution, and someone you can talk to always, be it a family member or a stranger. And I think that's really, really important for people to remember.
Mm-hmm. Well, then what would you say is the hardest thing to get these informations or these messages through to people?
Um, I think it's the accessibility of these messages that's the hardest thing. I think as well it's people's willingness to learn about the issue as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think those would kind of be the two things. If you're not really willing to learn about body image, you're not going to get the information. If you're not, if you don't know what platforms to reach out to, you're not necessarily going to reach out to those platforms. So that was a huge thing when it came to my podcast. I wanted to talk to people who had gone through these experiences and maybe just see who they reached out to, what their experiences were, and stuff like that. And look, there are always different places you can reach out to. I think podcasts are great because they cover absolutely every kind of form of topic you can think of, like be it music and film to how to be a millionaire, from going to the gym to, I don't know, learning how to take care of a cat. There's podcasts about everything nowadays. I saw a podcast the other day about music for your dog. Look, there's absolutely everything. So if you really, really want to educate yourself and learn about these things, you can find it. But I think talking about it is so important. That's why I call my podcast "Talk About It," because it is just about expressing your feelings to the people, expressing your
Mhm.
thoughts to the people, and go, okay, hey, I actually want to learn about this, or hey, I'm not doing well at the moment. And you never know what other people are going through,
Mm-hmm.
and you never know how they can actually help you in these kind of situations as well, because you'd be surprised about the people who have had eating disorders or have eating disorders, because there's not this one thing that every person with an eating disorder has, or one thing that everybody with negative body image has. Like everybody looks different, everybody goes through things differently. So I think it's about talking to other people to find these types of platforms and to you know get educated and start talking about it and to start that conversation.
So, would you say that people who don't take these type of things seriously, like on eating disorders, or like think about body images as an issue. Do you think that might be the biggest problem with these type of mental health issues, because they think that they're invalid or things like that?
Uh, yes and no. So I agree with what you're saying that if people aren't interested, they're not going to learn about it, and that is
Hmm.
100% correct. But I think that falls down as well to the education system and the way that
Hmm.
we learn about mental health. So if this kind of thing isn't brought up in schools, then people aren't going to be as open-minded about it, I think.
Hmm.
Um, and that is really where the issue lies. Like I remember we touched on it very, very briefly in my school. We touched on it for like a week. We did like a project on it, whatever. And then it wasn't until I realized I knew somebody with an eating disorder that I was like, oh, I actually don't know as much as I thought I did. Let me do a bit more research. And then a couple of weeks later, I found the documentary. So for me, my eyes kind of opened when we started talking about it in school and that conversation started. So I'm such a big advocate for education and for learning and for opening up your mind to different things. Like there are still so many things for me that I haven't, learned about yet, that I'm wanting to learn about, willing to learn about. And it really all starts with education and
Hmm.
the people you surround yourself with and just talking about it. It really, really
Hmm.
does. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you don't realize you're not educated about it until you are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. I think like the reason I brought up this type like people thinking that these issues are invalid, I think it's that maybe Chinese culture, we talk less about mental health overall. Like honestly, thinking back like in high school, I don't think we talked about mental health in school, did we?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so like it's totally a part that our teachers disregard. And I just think that this may be a big issue in Asian culture, a bit more like invalid feelings and people thinking that, oh, it's just a small issue. Why would you think that you need a therapist for this or things like that?
Yeah, and I think as well this is something that, us in Ireland we're becoming a little bit more aware of, that that everyone goes through bad days, that everybody, anyone can have mental health issues or
Hmm.
body image issues or eating disorders. Anybody can. And look, yeah, like you said, I think it just kind of starts with um, just talking about it and
Hmm.
normalizing the stigma, destigmatizing it is the word I'm looking for. And that
Hmm.
just kind of starts with talking about and having this conversation, which you are doing, and it's brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you have anything that you want to share to our audience now that this interview is coming to an end?
Anything I would like to say, I was kind of thinking about this earlier. It's just really just to close up the kind of the topic about body image
Hmm.
and eating disorders. If you are going through a hard time at the moment, or you are kind of talking negatively about yourself, you should know that you're not alone. You really aren't, and I think that's something that is just so validating to hear sometimes, because it's such a big world that we live in, and it's ever expanding and ever growing and ever changing. It can be scary. So knowing that you're not alone is really, really important and really, really powerful. So just
Hmm.
talk to somebody and let them know and reach out. It's so important. And I promise you, you'll find someone to talk to, anybody to talk to. And then otherwise, I just wanted to say that in a general message kind of sense, just to really just, I think since COVID, a lot of people have realized that life is really, really short. So there's no point in dwelling on the negative or being, you know, being negative about the small stuff. Don't sweat the small things. Go out, enjoy your life, do something you love, uh, meet people, travel, do what makes you happy in life, and you will find happiness within yourself and within your body. And it's not going to happen overnight. It's a journey, but it will be worth it. And yeah, I just want to thank both of you for having me on, and to say that season 3 of my podcast will be coming out very, very soon, hopefully in August. And yeah, there'll be a lot of exciting things happening then. I have a lot of projects kind of lined up. So yeah, that's exciting. So my Instagram page is @_talk about a podcast, to plug myself there. But yeah, thank you guys for having me on.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. I think that this conversation went very well, and I liked how this ended.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to this episode.
We will upload a new episode every Thursday.
Remember to like, follow, and share our podcasts with your friends and family. You could also share your idea and thoughts with us on our Instagram at teenup.podcast.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our channel.
Thank you and bye.